Hey, what is going on, guys? In this video today, we're going to be discussing the current state of assault rifles in Fortnite Battle Royale. I did a video similar to this discussing the current shotgun meta, and you guys seemed to really enjoy it. I also saw a few comments of people asking me to do another video, but this time covering all of the ARs in Fortnite. And I can definitely understand why people would want that. As I pointed out before, there are 8 different weapons in Fortnite that fall under the category of assault rifle. And when you compare that to the other types of weapons in Fortnite, it definitely does stand out. There are 3 different shotguns in the game, only 2 different SMGs, 2 different snipers, and the only weapon category that even comes close is the 5 different types of pistols. But as I'm sure most of you guys probably know, not all of the 8 unique assault rifles are actually viable. There's definitely a clear pecking order here, and there's actually about 3 to 4 different ARs that have a legitimate argument for the best AR in the game, depending on your playstyle and what you generally prefer in a weapon. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Alright, so much like I did in the shotgun video with the double barrel shotgun, let's quickly start with and get through the worst of the worst when it comes to ARs. And in my opinion, 2 assault rifles are clearly in their own tier at the bottom of the list. And you probably guessed it, they're the scoped assault rifle and the thermal scoped assault rifle. It's funny because Epic really did try to give these weapons a little bit of a buff in Season 7 by making their scopes overall a little cleaner and easier to use. However, it really didn't work. I think the biggest weakness that both of these weapons share is the fact that they can't be used as your only AR in any given game. Any good assault rifle should be really strong at medium range, decent at long range, and at least somewhat decent at close range. When you look at the scoped and thermal scoped ARs, they're good at long range, which is obviously a plus, but they're also bad at medium range and totally unusable at close range. So you really can't use either of them as your only AR. The only option is to go with something like AR pump SMG healing and then scope/thermal AR. But at that point, wouldn't it just be better to carry a sniper anyway? I think both of these weapons, and especially the normal scoped AR, are in line for a pretty significant damage boost. It's actually really crazy just how weak the scoped AR specifically really is. The purple scoped AR has a base damage of 24 body damage and 48 headshot damage per bullet. Compare that to a much more common weapon like the white normal AR, and that has a base damage of 30 body damage and 60 headshot damage per bullet. So plain and simple, neither of these weapons are really viable at all in Fortnite. Only pick them up if they are literally the first and only weapon you find in a game, and I highly doubt anybody who plays Fortnite will really disagree with that statement. The next 2 ARs that we're going to cover, I also think are kinda in their own tier. They're definitely above the scoped and thermal scoped ARs, but they're probably a tier below every other AR in the game. And the 2 ARs I'm referring to are the burst assault rifle and the rare burst assault rifle, which is much more commonly known as the FAMAS, so that's what I'm going to call it for the rest of this video. So what both of these weapons have in common is obviously the fact that they both shoot in 3 bullet bursts. Now what's interesting is that in Fortnite, usually burst damage is king. So if you've never really used these burst rifles, you would maybe think that they're really good weapons. And that point is somewhat true, at least referring to the burst damage. If you can land 3 out of 3 headshots with a blue burst AR, you'll do 180 total damage, which is obviously devastating in any fight. And with a gold FAMAS, you'll do even better at 198 total damage. But the fact of the matter is, that's obviously much easier said than done. And other than initial burst damage potential, the burst ARs are considerably worse in pretty much every important category when you compare it to all of the fully auto ARs in the game. This is especially true when it comes to destroying player build structures, which is obviously incredibly important now that everybody builds. So I'll take every single fully auto AR in the game over any of the normal burst ARs, and when it comes to the FAMAS specifically, I may choose either the purple or gold FAMAS over the white AR, but that's really it. The burst weapons definitely aren't unusably bad like the scoped ARs are, but they're definitely in need of some kind of buff. And speaking of the regular AR, I'm going to place it clearly above the burst ARs, but also below the other 3 fully auto ARs in the game. The regular AR has always been one of the most balanced and fair weapons in all of Fortnite. It's actually kind of crazy because this game's been out for close to a year and a half now, and I honestly don't think there's ever been a time where the regular AR has either been overpowered or simply too weak to use. So overall, just an incredibly balanced and fair weapon that will probably never be non-meta. And honestly, I don't think I need to say much more than that. Now we can get into the most interesting part of this entire video, breaking down the 3 remaining ARs, which I believe are all very close to equal, and also make up the highest tier of ARs in the entire game. In this tier, we have the Suppressed Scar, the regular Scar, and the heavy AR. So first, let's try to settle one of the most common questions that I see always asked regarding ARs in Fortnite. What is the better weapon, the Suppressed Scar or the regular Scar? So just looking at the base damage numbers first, the Scar has a pretty clear advantage here. The purple Scar does 35 body damage and 70 headshot damage, while the gold Scar does 36 body damage and 72 headshot damage. On the other hand, the purple Suppressed Scar does 32 body damage and 64 headshot damage, while the gold Suppressed Scar does 33 body damage and 66 headshot damage. And that actually is really important because it means that at a relatively close range, both of the regular Scars can 3-shot body shot a 100 health enemy, while neither of the Suppressed Scars can. And to add on to this, the regular Scars also seem to have considerably less bloom than the Suppressed Scars do after the first few shots. And that's why when you're using the Suppressed Scar, you really want to emphasize tap firing it and taking advantage of first shot accuracy in most situations, because the bloom really can be a major problem at times. However, the Suppressed Scar does have the unique ability of simply being a silenced weapon. It makes your shots a lot less loud, and this is especially helpful in a game mode like solos to avoid situations where you get third-partied from enemies who hear you shooting in the distance. But just a silencer alone is not enough to make up for all of the other advantages that the normal Scar has. So me personally, I'm taking any color normal Scar over any color Suppressed Scar without thinking twice. And I think that's what I've seen out of most Fortnite pros. So the final AR we have to discuss is probably the most unique and interesting of them all, the heavy assault rifle. The heavy AR has only been in Fortnite for about a month now, but it's already established itself as a legitimate contender for the best assault rifle in the entire game. The heavy AR comes in 3 different rarities, blue, purple, and gold. The blue heavy AR does 44 base body damage and 88 headshot damage, purple does 46 body damage and 92 headshot damage, and gold does 48 body damage and 96 headshot damage. All of those damage numbers are by far the highest of any AR in the game, which is obviously going to be a major plus. Hitting a 96 damage headshot is going to make you feel more like you're using a shotgun than an actual AR. However, this is kept in balance due to the heavy AR's slower fire rate, smaller magazine size, and maybe most importantly, much higher spread and bloom than all of the other ARs in the game. Just to put it in statistical terms, the regular AR, Scar, and Suppressed Scar all have a fire rate of 5.5 shots per second, while the heavy AR comes in at 3.75 shots per second. So clearly, you can't just use the heavy AR the same way you would use the 3 other fully auto ARs. You almost need to treat this thing as a single shot weapon, kinda like the scoped AR. That's just how crazy the spread and bloom really get with this thing after the first few shots. The only time you really ever want to use it in a fully auto fashion is either in super close range engagements or to destroy player built structures. And it may sound like I'm speaking really negative about this thing, but honestly, the damage the heavy AR can do really does make up for the unique way you're forced to use it. And for me, it really is clearly better than the Suppressed Scar and is pretty much tied with the regular Scar. It honestly pretty much changes by the day, but if I were forced to choose one, I'd probably go with the Scar when playing public matches and the heavy AR in any kind of scrim or pop-up up cup, because that extra burst damage that the heavy AR gives you is just so important in any kind of competitive setting, and that's why you see so many pros using it in like the Winter Royale and a bunch of other competitive events. But honestly, at the end of the day, you really can't go wrong with either of them, and it just comes down to what you prefer more, burst damage or the ability to fully auto spray with the Scar. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you watched the entire thing, be sure to let me know with a comment down in the comment section below. I want to know, how would you rank your top 3 ARs in Fortnite? For me, it would literally be Scar and Heavy AR tied at 1 and 2, and then coming in at a close third is the Suppress Scar. Be sure to leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, turn on post notifications, do whatever the heck you want, and I will catch you guys next time.